This is Surry County. We are Surry on the go.
Hello, my name is Sarah Carr and I work at the Surry County Health and Nutrition Center. With me today is Dr. Steve Simandl, our Environmental Health Director. Welcome, Steve. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
Happy to be here.
I'm glad to hear it. Can you start out by telling us a little bit about how you got to the health department, your education, anything we might want to know about you?
Sure. I went to Appalachian State, got my degree there, and did my doctoral work at East Carolina University. Was doing some postdoctoral work at Baptist in Winston, and getting up before my daughter woke up and getting home after she'd gone to bed, and realized I wanted to be a father more than a research scientist. So when this job opened up here, I applied for it and been here ever since.
Very nice. How long has that been?
Almost 18 years now.
Wow. Very nice. Well, we're glad to have you. So I know the Environmental Health Department does a lot, and I would like to ask you some questions about lead poisoning today. I know we have a lot of historical structures and older homes in Surry County, and they're beautiful, but also they may contain lead, and I know that a lot of people have questions about how that affects you, or where should I look out for this. So can you tell us a very basic explanation of how lead affects humans?
Lead affects adults and children a little bit differently, but for adults it can lead to things like high blood pressure, some reproductive issues, maybe some mental issues. But for adults you need a high exposure and a long time.
So are children at a greater risk of being exposed because they are smaller, because their bodies are smaller?
Well, children absorb lead more easily than adults do. So that's one reason. The other reason is that we all know it's hard to keep a toddler's hands out of their mouth, and so they're more likely to eat paint chips, for example, or if they're playing in soil that's contaminated with lead, they can use that hand-to-mouth thing. But in children, lead is an issue. It can cause stuff like developmental delays, learning difficulties, as well as some other physical things like nausea, vomiting, fatigue, stuff like that.
Okay, so where does the lead come from? Where are we finding these exposures happening?
Lead occurs naturally, but most often with the hand-to-mouth contamination route. Lead paint is a large one. Lead was discontinued in paint in 1978, but there are a lot of older homes that still have lead paint. Usually that's okay unless it starts chipping, getting that characteristic alligator skin look. Older houses may still have some pipes that have lead fittings, and you can get it that way. Lead sticks around in the soil for a long time too, so if there was an old gas spill and right around old houses, the soil, you can get exposure from that. Other things include some potteries. Pottery with the glazes that they use can have lead. Some imported candy, imported toys. I haven't tried lead paint chips, but it has a sweet taste, and that's why the children like to eat it. So actually some imported candy or spices can have a high level of lead. Also cosmetics and herbal and folk remedies. Don't want to single out the guys on this one, but even spending a lot of time at the shooting range or fishing, you can get some lead exposure if you're firing lead bullets or using lead sinkers on your lines.
Very interesting. Thank you. So what is your role in lead exposure cases? How can you walk us through that process?
Well, environmental health only gets involved when we have a confirmed elevated blood level test in the children. Usually those tests are done at 1 year or 2 years, and it's mandatory for children on Medicaid, WIC, and Health Choice. And the legislature has recently lowered the blood lead levels at which we get involved. Anything below 5 micrograms per deciliter, we just do education. Anything from 5 but less than 10 micrograms per deciliter in the blood, we offer a environmental health inspection to see if we can determine where that lead is coming from. And anything above 10 micrograms per deciliter, we're required to do that environmental health inspection, not only to find out where the source of lead is coming, but to remediate it. So the owner will have to fix it. We approve that plan, and then we go ahead and confirm when that lead has been remediated.
Wow, that's great to know. That's very nice. What should someone do if they're worried? You know, if you live in an older home and you see that alligator skin that you were talking about, that the paint pattern, what should they do? Can they call you? Will you do those investigations for anyone?
Not for anyone. Again, we have to have it reported by a healthcare professional of the elevated blood level. But the state has a great resource for education. If you just type in any search engine, NCCLPPP, that's North Carolina Childhood Lead Poisoning Prevention Program. They've got some great resources, great handouts, information. If you don't have access to the internet, or you would just rather talk with somebody, feel free to call our office. We'll get you in touch with one of our lead authorized inspectors, and they can answer your questions, and hopefully, if they can't, at least they can get answers for you. But we'd be happy to talk with you and educate you if you have certain specific questions.
All right. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you.
Find the Surrey On The Go app on Roku, Roku TV, Apple TV, Fire, Fire TV, Android phones and tablets, and Apple phones and tablets.